The siren started as a distant ache, then roared like a wound tearing open. Alex Mercer said, "Patch the tunnel and keep me breathing." The loft rattled as thunder stacked over the city. Veronica Vale said, "Open the gate, or Riley stops breathing first." A hostage cam flickered, and Riley Quinn's eyes begged for time. Alex traced code like prayer, while guilt pulsed behind his ribs. He saw the forked path, both ends burning. Mason Pike said, "You cut in and you brand us all." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Decisions carve you. Make one you can survive." The firewall curved like glass under a torch. Alex said, "I choose Riley," and pressed enter as alarms birthed a crimson dawn. The breach rippled through the grid like thunder under concrete. Alex said, "Root it clean, bury the prince." A cascade of access chimed, sweet and sick at once. Riley coughed on the warehouse feed, alive but fading. Veronica said, "You bought 6 minutes, not freedom." Mason's avatar lit with a skull and a map. Alex said, "Trace the uplink and send me a spine." Dr. Elias Cade said, "There is always a second cost hidden in the receipt." The loft dimmed as failsafes tripped like falling dominoes. Alex swallowed the metallic taste of victory and cued an exit that might amputate what was left of his peace. A drone's shadow crawled across the window like a bruise. Alex said, "They triangulated us." Mason said, "Stairwell west, car hot and hungry." Veronica said, "Run if you like. I prefer the chase." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Silence is also a signal. Choose noise wisely." Alex killed the lights and felt the building breathe. The ups clicked like a ticking tooth. Riley whispered from the feed, "Don't be heroic, be fast." The screen froze on her face, a pause that hurt. Alex pocketed a drive that felt heavier than guilt and headed for the door that might already be watched. The stairwell smelled like rust and rain, and the drone's hum thickened. Alex said, "Masking now." Mason said, "I see 2 watchers on the alley." Veronica said, "Trade the drive for the girl. Same terms, fewer lies." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Bargains with wolves are still meals." Alex ghosted down flights as the hum arced overhead. He pictured Riley counting seconds like rosary beads. The exit door moaned, and the city breathed cold. Alex said, "I make my own terms," and palmed the drive like a loaded word. A sedan idled with a growl that sounded like appetite. Mason said, "Get in and keep your head below faith." Alex slid in, and dashboards lit like constellations. Jonas Stone said, "You always did pick the wrong storms." Alex said, "You still sell lightning to both sides." Veronica said, "Tick-tock, Alex. 6 becomes 5. Dr. Elias Cade said, "Compromise is a currency. Spend none you cannot replace." Tires hissed over rain and doubt. Alex gripped the drive and saw Riley's face on the windshield ghost. Then he told the engine to believe in impossible roads. The sedan bled speed into dawn while the city steamed like a waking beast. Alex said, "We swap plates and change ghosts." Mason said, "Glovebox left, burn phone and prayer." Jonas said, "Veronica only smiles when the knife is already in." Riley whispered through a tinny link, "I can hear trucks, keep talking." Alex described the sky so she could measure hope by color. Dr. Elias Cade said, "Anchor yourself to a promise you can keep." Alex said, "I will come even if I crawl." Veronica said, "Be sure you crawl to the right door." The streets smeared into silver lines while guilt rode shotgun. Alex mapped routes on muscle memory and old mistakes. He pressed the drive to his chest and tried to believe it could learn mercy. The engine hummed a low vow that might fail. Alex said, "If I mess this up, I fix it with blood." Mason said, "Better with brains." They slid into a shuttered repair bay where oil smell hugged the floor. Alex said, "Kill the cameras and give me quiet." Mason said, "You get 3 minutes of holy." Jonah said, "Your saint is late, and your sins are early." Alex opened the drive and watched scraps of stolen truth fight for shape. Riley said, "My hands are numb. Count for me again." Alex counted like a metronome and heard her steadier breath. Veronica said, "Time dilates for liars. Mine does not." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Pain is a teacher. Do not make it your god." Alex thought of the first code he ever wrote, and the friend it did not save. He stitched a decoy route and a lifeline toward the river. Mason said, "When you run, run like you own the road." Alex nodded and owned the fear instead. A siren barked nearby, then died. Alex said, "3 more steps and the floor holds." Jonah said, "Floors love to break." A church basement took them in with folding chairs and dust halos. Alex said, "I used to fix routers here for coffee." Mason said, "Sanctuary runs on passwords too." Jonah said, "Confession hour is short." Alex traced a crack in the tile and saw his childhood inside it. Dr. Elias Cade said, "Roots decide the storm's bite." Alex said, "My mother kept the lights on with second jobs and stubborn prayers." Riley whispered, "Tell me something good and small." Alex listed the shape of her laugh from a week before this hell. Veronica said, "You two are sentimental, I am surgical." Alex answered, "Surgery can scar clean." He set a rule on the wall of his mind and wrote her name under it. Mason said, "Rules break kinder when carved in steel." Alex breathed in dust and gave it meaning. He said, "I will not trade the living for a ledger." Jonah said, "Ledgers eat vows for breakfast." The call with Dr. Elias Cade cracked through static like fire through paper. Alex said, "She wants the drive for Riley." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Trades like that kill twice." Alex said, "Then teach me the third way." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Split the signal and make both sides doubt the mirror." Jonah said, "Doubt is a drug. Dosage kills." Mason said, "I can ghost a feed for 60 seconds. Alex mapped the split and heard his pulse sync with the cursor. Veronica said, "I admire ambition. It makes betrayal glitter." Riley whispered, "I'm cold." Alex said, "Hold the breath I send you and keep it." Dr. Elias Cade said, "You cannot save everyone, but you can refuse to abandon her." Alex decided to fracture the truth and keep the heart whole. The line popped, then steadied. Alex said, "We move at dusk." Mason said, "Then we bleed the clocks." Dusk painted the river like a bruise learning to glow. Alex said, "She will expect me here." Mason said, "Then make her expect you louder somewhere else." Jonah said, "Noise attracts teeth." Alex seeded decoys across 3 districts and felt the map purr. Veronica said, "Your tricks end at the waterline." Riley whispered, "If I hear the river, I will know you are close." Alex recorded 6 seconds of waves and sent them like a pulse. Dr. Elias Cade said, "Symbols carry weight. Water forgives no one." Alex said, "Forgiveness can wait. Survival cannot." A gull shrieked like a bad omen, then vanished into purple light. He raised the phone and promised a path through knives. Veronica said, "Bring the drive to Pier 7. Alex said, "I bring storms." Mason said, "Then wear boots." Jonah said, "And a last will." The warehouse door slammed like judgment, and dust crawled in beams of dying light. Alex said, "We're already late." Mason said, "Late keeps you alive if fast enough." Jonah said, "Deadlines have the word dead for a reason." Riley's voice trembled on the feed. "They moved me again." Veronica said, "Moves are made to see who follows poorly." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Every trap teaches its maker too." Alex forced air into lungs that felt borrowed. He said, "We split, noise and knife." Mason growled, "Then I'm the knife." Jonah smirked, "Noise is what I was born for." Alex carved the map across his palm like fate lines. The river pulsed outside, oily and endless. He said, We go tonight or not at all. Silence thickened, then cracked under the hum of distant engines. The plan spread like ink across the cracked table. Alex said, "One noise, one knife, one ghost." Mason said, "Ghosts vanish clean. Are you ready to vanish?" Jonah said, "I've vanished from better men than you." Riley whispered, "They guard the riverfront with drones." Veronica said, "Correct, and each one hungers for error." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Do not fear the Watchers, blind them instead." Alex tightened the strap of his pack like a vow. He said, "Blind them, burn them, break them, whatever buys her breath." Mason grunted, "And if they pin you?" Alex said, "Then I choke them with my silence." Jonah laughed low. "Heroes' speeches make coffins sell faster." Alex bent closer to the map and marked Pier 7 with a cross that bled through the paper. Rain smothered the streets as they split, each shadow wearing new skin. Alex said, "Noise to the east, knife to the west, ghost through the spine." Mason said, "Call me when blood runs, not before." Jonah said, "Noise is already music." Riley whispered, "Don't leave me inside this silence." Veronica said, "Silence is your new home, dear." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Fear sharpens, let it carve only what you need." Alex ran through alleys where puddles swallowed neon. He held the drive tight, heartbeat sensing with its hum. Sirens bloomed distant like poisoned flowers. Alex said, "Stay alive, Riley, I'm closing the gap." His shoes tore water apart. Every step, a line drawn against the dark. The pier yawned under floodlights, a stage built for betrayal. Alex crouched behind stacked containers, breath quicksilver. Mason said, "I have eyes on 2 guards." Jonah said, "Drone sees me, time to dance loud." Riley's muffled cry came through, fragile as paper. Veronica said, "One more step, Alex, and the stage collapses." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Confrontation is a mirror. Do not flinch at what you see." Alex whispered, "Mirror or abyss, I walk it." His fingers brushed the cold steel of the drive. He scanned angles, noting every shadow and line of sight. The harbor wind carried diesel and salt, wrapping him in dread. He said, "I end this tonight, no matter which end it writes." Engines roared as spotlights cut open the dark. Alex said, "They see me." Mason shouted, "Pull back now." Jonah laughed, "Noise is glorious." Riley screamed faintly, "Alex, please." Veronica said, "One choice, one cost." Dr. Elias Cade said, "A single step can save a ruin. Choose knowing both truths." Alex rose hot a drum against the night and stepped into the beam. He raised the drive like a curse and a promise. Shadows swallowed fear, leaving only resolve. The harbor wind tore at his hood, but he stood firm. He said, "I'm here, let her breathe." Silence pressed heavy until it cracked under the sound of approaching boots. "I'm dull." The pier throbbed with floodlights, while betrayal coiled like smoke. Alex said, "Bring her out now." Veronica's voice crackled, first the drive, then the girl. Riley's muffled breath leaked through sharp as glass. Mason whispered in his calm, "2 snipers, northeast crane." Jonah chuckled, "Spotlight loves me. Let them stare." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Revelations split the spine of trust." Alex clenched the drive and felt it pulse like a lie alive. He said, "You think I'll hand you everything?" Veronica said, "You already did. The night you wrote your first line of code for me." The truth ripped through him, colder than the river. He said, "You used me from the start." Veronica said, "And you loved being used." His legs shook, but resolve hardened. The revelation spread like acid through Alex's memory. He saw lines of code, late nights, whispers of purpose. Mason said, "Tell me she's lying." Jonah smirked, "She's telling a better story than you are." Dr. Elias Cade said, "The seed she planted grew the tree you climb now." Alex whispered, "I thought I was fighting her, not feeding her." Veronica said, "Fight or feed, either way, I win." Riley cried, "Don't believe her." Alex shut his eyes and saw the first moment he typed her strings. He said, "If I wrote for you, then I'll rewrite against you." Veronica laughed like glass breaking. She said, "Rewrite yourself into ash." Alex opened his eyes, resolve sharpened into flame. Veronica snapped her fingers and the sniper's lasers licked Alex's chest. Mason said, "One more second and you're gone." Jonah said, "Noise is a weapon. Let me scream." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Stand still. Stillness disarms more than chaos." Alex said, "You played both sides, but I can too." Veronica said, "You don't have the stomach." Riley whispered, "Alex, fight smart, not loud." Alex pressed a key on the hidden transmitter in his sleeve. Floodlights flickered, drones staggered in the sky, chaos bloomed. Veronica gasped, "What did you do?" Alex said, "I split the truth. You'll never know which copy burns you." The pier roared alive with alarms, and shadows scattered like rats. Gunfire cracked and sparks rained like iron stars. Mason shouted, "Cover left." Jonah howled, "Let them chase shadows." Veronica hissed, "Kill him now." Riley screamed, "Alex!" Dr. Elias Cade said, "Chaos is a ladder, climb it or fall beneath it." Alex sprinted through container rows, drive burning in his palm. He said, "No more leashes, no more cages." Bullets stitched the metal near him, each spark a near death. Mason fired back, each shot carving seconds of survival. Jonah ran into the open, arms wide, pulling fire like a mad decoy. Veronica's voice cut through, "Even your allies betray you." Alex muttered, "Then, I betray betrayal." His feet carried him toward the bound figure of Riley, hope a target bright and fragile. The storm reached its heart as Alex cut the ropes from Riley's wrists. She gasped, "I thought you wouldn't make it." He said, "Neither did I." Veronica shouted, "Shoot them both." Mason barked, "We're leaving now." Jonah yelled, "The louder the better." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Every rescue births another cost. Be ready." Alex lifted Riley, her knees trembling but spirit unbroken. She said, "Don't let me go again." He whispered, "Never." The pier burned with sirens, bullets, and betrayal. Veronica's voice carried over it all. "You think you won, but you only lit the fuse." Alex said, "Then I'll be the fire that ends you." The night swallowed their escape as the river hissed under the weight of lies. The city swallowed them in smoke and neon as Mason's sedan roared from the pier. Alex said, "She'll hunt us harder now." Riley, voice weak but steady, said, "I'm not her pawn anymore." Veronica's words echoed in his head, "You were mine from the start." Jonah laughed in the back seat, "Chaos is my lullaby." Dr. Elias Cade said, "The spiral has begun. Downward if you allow it." Mason snapped, "Roadblock ahead." Alex's grip tightened on the drive like it could anchor him. He said, "I'll burn it before I hand it back." Riley leaned close, "But will you burn yourself with it?" Tires screeched, sirens wailed closer, and the night pressed in. Alex whispered, "I don't care if I do, as long as she doesn't win." They ditched the car in a half-lit tunnel, footsteps echoing like ghosts. Mason said, "We split. Trackers won't follow all of us." Jonah grinned, "I vote I go loud as always." Riley grabbed Alex's arm, "Don't let me vanish again." Veronica's voice slithered from a hack speaker, "Run, but I'll still own your shadow." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Fear makes shadows grow. Stand where light breaks it." Alex said, "We end this before it consumes everything." Mason pressed a pistol into his hand, "Make sure your end is hers, not yours." Jonah said, "When it spirals, I'll dance in the center." The tunnel trembled with the hum of oncoming engines. Alex whispered, "Then the spiral starts here." They surfaced into an industrial yard littered with rust and rain. Veronica's drone circled above, red eyes blinking. Alex said, "She wants us corralled." Mason said, "Then we tear the fence down." Jonah shouted, "Let them chase the music." Riley whispered, "Alex, I trust you." Her words steadied his hands. Veronica's voice boomed, "Trust is a leash, and you wear it well." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Trust can also be a weapon." Alex uploaded the decoy files into the sky, satellites flashing like false stars. Veronica hissed, "You dare fracture my truth?" Alex said, "Truth belongs to no one, least of all you." The yard lit with searchlights, turning rust into fire. Bullets shredded the silence, sparks flying from steel beams. Mason shouted, "Cover right!" Jonah ran into open light, laughing, "Catch me if you can." Riley ducked close to Alex, "Stay with me." Veronica's voice was ice, "One bullet for each lie you told." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Violence is a storm. Find the eye if you want to live." Alex fired back, heart thundering, while clutching the drive. He said, "Every shot you fire is proof I scare you." Mason growled, "Move now, or we die here." Jonah screamed, "Noise is my gospel." Riley whispered, "Please don't leave me again." Alex pulled her toward the shadows, desperation in every step. The chaos cracked open when an explosion lit the night orange. Jonah yelled, "Now, this is music." Mason shouted, "Move before the whole yard burns." Riley stumbled, coughing smoke. Alex lifted her, saying, "I won't lose you here." Veronica's laugh echoed, "Every escape you make is still inside my cage." Dr. Elias Cade said, "The spiral narrows. Step with care or be consumed." Alex sprinted through fire and shadows, heart hammering. Mason fired back at drones covering their escape. Jonah spun in flames, laughing at death. Alex whispered, "This ends tonight." Riley's tears streaked soot, but she nodded. They burst through a gate into the night, chased by fire and truth. The city's heart glowed with sirens as they staggered into an abandoned subway station. Alex said, "This is where we end it." Mason said, "Or where it ends us." Riley whispered, "I can't feel my hands, but I can still fight." Jonah grinned, "Fight? This is art." Veronica's voice sliced through hidden speakers, "Your stage is ready." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Climax is collision, truth versus shadow." Alex pressed the drive into the console, eyes fierce. He said, "If she wants my code, she'll choke on it." Mason said, "We hold until the last round." Jonah laughed, "I'll paint the walls with noise." Riley gripped Alex's sleeve, "Just don't let me vanish again." He said, "Never." The rails hummed as her forces closed in. The tunnels shook as boots stormed in like thunder. Alex said, "They're here." Mason fired, "Then so are we." Jonah shouted, "Noise is king." Riley whispered, "Alex, don't let them break you." Veronica's voice echoed, "You already broke long ago." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Clarity is forged when chaos peaks." Alex launched the decoy program, screens bursting with fractured code. He said, "Eat the truth, choke on the lies." Gunfire lit the dark like lightning. Mason shouted, "Hold the line." Jonah screamed laughter into the gunfire. Riley pressed against the wall, trembling but steady. Alex whispered, "For you, I'll bleed every secret dry." Drones flooded the station, red eyes piercing the dark. Mason growled, "Too many." Jonah shouted, "Perfect number for me." Veronica purred, "Did you think you could win?" Riley whispered, "Alex, please." Dr. Elias Cade said, "Demons multiply when you feed them fear." Alex slammed the drive deeper into the console. He said, "I'm done feeding you." Sparks rained, monitors screamed code. Alarms echoed. Mason shouted, "Systems are collapsing." Jonah laughed, "Then let it all collapse." Riley pulled at Alex's sleeve, "We can still run." Alex shook his head, "Not yet, this is where she drowns." Veronica shrieked, "You'll drown with me." Alex said, "Then I drown free." The console wailed as screens shattered into static. Veronica screamed, "My empire burns with you." Mason shouted, "Alex, move." Jonah cried, "Glory and collapse." Riley begged, "Please don't stay here." Dr. Elias Cade said, A climax claims a price. Choose which one you'll pay. Alex tore the drive free, sparks biting his hands. He said, if the code dies, so does her crown. Mason dragged Riley toward the exit, bullets hissing past. Jonah stayed behind, firing wild into the storm, laughing. Veronica's voice fractured. I'll haunt every breath you take. Alex roared back, haunt me then, but not her. The station cracked under fire and fury. The last drone fell smoking, silence heavy and raw. Mason panted, we need to move. Riley said, we're alive, Alex, we're still alive. Jonah's laughter echoed faintly, then choked into silence. Veronica's voice, weak but venomous, said, you've only bought time. Dr. Elias Cade said, climax leaves ruins. What you rebuild matters most. Alex stared at the drive in his bleeding hands. He whispered, she's right, it's not over. Riley pressed her forehead to his, but it's ours now. Mason said, decide fast, the city will come for us. Alex looked into the dark tunnel where echoes of war still hummed. He said, then let them come. I'll burn every lie left standing. The dawn cracked pale over the fractured city, smoke still licking the skyline like scars that refused to fade. Alex walked through the hollow subway exit with Riley leaning against him, each step a vow he couldn't take back. Mason said, we didn't win, we just survived. Jonah's absence bled like a hole in the group, his laughter echoing in phantom waves. Veronica's voice from a dying drone rasped, survival is a leash, I'm still holding it. Riley shivered, don't listen, she's fading. Alex clenched the broken drive, shards biting his skin. He said, let her voice be ashes, nothing more. Dr. Elias Cade said, ashes feed new soil, but you must choose what grows. Alex stared at the horizon, remembering every betrayal, every scar carved by truth. He said, if she haunts me, I'll turn her ghost into a warning. Mason muttered, ghosts multiply fast. Riley whispered, then I'll hold your hand until they quiet. Alex smiled for the first time in nights, small and cracked but real. The trio reached an old cafe boarded since the riots, sunlight slipping through cracks like forgiveness sneaking in. Alex said, we hide until the city stops breathing fire. Mason dropped heavy into a chair, muttering, hiding is breathing too. Riley leaned her head on the table, eyes closing. She whispered, every time I thought it was over, you pulled me back. Alex stroked her hair, voice soft. I didn't save you. I just refused to lose you. Dr. Elias Cade said, through a battered radio, refusal is strength, but it can also be a prison. Veronica's static-laced echo followed, and prisons always find new wardens. Alex smashed the radio against the wall, breath sharp, no more chains. Mason said, then burn them all and leave nothing standing. Riley smiled faintly, leave something, leave us. Alex looked at her bruises and scars, and whispered, you're what survives when everything else falls. The cafe groaned with silence as if walls held their secret. Outside, the city screamed with sirens and smoke, but the cafe held its fragile peace. Alex said, I keep seeing Jonah's grin before the flames. Mason sighed, he chose the fire, don't carry his ghost. Riley said softly, he carried us in his way. Dr. Elias Cade said, every foil reflects you. Ask what part of him you mirror. Alex swallowed hard, whispering, maybe the part that loved chaos more than safety. Veronica's fading taunt sparked in his memory. Chaos was always your truest ally. He gritted his teeth. No. It was my chain. Riley touched his hand, then let me be your anchor. Alex smiled weakly. Anchors can sink ships too. She whispered, not if you want to float. Mason leaned forward, voice sharp, what's next, Alex? Running only buys hours. Alex stood, eyes fierce. Next is turning every truth she built into a weapon against her memory. Mason said, that path bleeds. Alex said, so does freedom. Night fell again, shadows stretching like debts across the city. Alex wired fragments of code into a patched terminal, scavenged from the cafe basement. He whispered, This isn't just data anymore. It's truth sharpened. Riley asked softly, "Will it save us?" He said no, but it will save what comes after us. Mason lit a cigarette, smoke curling like ghosts. He muttered, "After us doesn't matter if we die tonight." Dr. Elias Cade said faintly, "Legacy matters most when life burns short." Veronica's last recording crackled through corrupted files. "You'll never kill me, you'll only become me." Alex stared into the glow of the terminal and said, "No. I'll become the fire that burns the throne." Riley touched his shoulder. "I'll stand with you, even if it burns us both." Alex turned, eyes wet, whispering, "Then we burn together, but free." The screen filled with light, and the code screamed like a weapon awakening. The city was quiet at dawn, the kind of silence that followed storms and funerals. Alex and Riley stood on the rooftop of the cafe, Mason behind them scanning the streets below. Riley said softly, "It feels over, but it never really is." Alex nodded. "Over isn't real, it's only pauses between battles." Dr. Elias Cade's final message played in Alex's ear. "The truth you carried has weight. Carry it wisely." Alex whispered, "I'll carry it until it crushes me. Then I'll let it fall where it belongs." Veronica's ghost still lingered in his mind, whispering, "You're mine forever." He shouted into the dawn, "No, I was never yours." Riley took his hand. "Then whose are you?" He looked at her, eyes cracked but shining. "Yours, if you'll have me broken." She whispered, "Broken is still alive." Mason said, "Alive is enough." The sun broke over the horizon, golden light spilling over scars, and the world felt briefly whole again.